Welcome to Good Horses, Stories of the American Quarter Horse. I'm Jim Jennings.
And I'm Bobby Loran. We're excited to bring you the stories of the horses that have made a lasting impact on some of the most legendary figures in the quarter horse industry. Each episode, we'll hear about the horses that challenged them, taught them, and left a special mark on their lives.
From remarkable lessons to unforgettable rides, these are the stories that celebrate the heart, soul, and horsepower of the American quarter horse.
This podcast is brought to you by the American Quarter Horse Association. Let's get started.
On this episode, we're partnering with Classic Equine. From the very beginning, Classic Equine has collaborated with leading professionals in the design and function of their performance horse products, ensuring they consistently develop nothing but the best and for the best.
J.D. Yates was one of the first professionals to test Classic Equine leg boots, saddle pads, and bell boots for the then startup company more than 20 years ago. Remember to follow Classic Equine on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok.
Our guest this morning is one of the newest members of the American Quarter Horse Hall of Fame, J.D. Yates. J.D., how are you this morning?
Well, I'm good. I appreciate y'all having me on.
Oh, we're looking forward to it. I think we'll have a good time this morning talking about good horses. So, Bobby, you want to start us out, or?
I would love to. So this is going to be such an incredible segment where we really talk about each stage of your life and the horses that impacted that stage and brought you all the success. You know, American quarter horses, they are the most versatile breed, and you've got such an extensive, just accomplished career in the American quarter horse industry. So we just want to hear all about it, about all the horses. So let's just start from the beginning. Tell us how you were raised up with American quarter horses.
Well, you know, my dad, he rodeoed and showed a few horses when I was a kid, and I really didn't know what was going on. And he mainly rode bareback horses and roped calves when I was young, you know, and so I kind of growed up in it and was around it a lot. And, you know, he rode quite a few horses for himself and for other people, but, you know, mainly just broke calves, and I got them broke. And then as I come along there for a while, he was doing everything. I was doing a little bit of everything, and of course, cowboy always wants to be like his dad. But I tried riding barebacks. I was no good. I was terrible, and but I rode quite a few bulls and did pretty good. And about that time in my career when I was young, we were team roping, and he woke up one day and he said, well, either these horses are all going to go away and you're going to ride bulls, or you're stopping riding bulls. And so that's how I turned the whole life to just the roping and the riding the horses and learning.
About what age did you start?
Roping or riding?
Team roping.
You know, I started team roping probably when I was 5. I went to my first competition. And
5?
Yeah. And then, you know, we didn't, my dad worked for the state as a brand inspector. And so I did a lot of day work helping ranchers gather cattle and sort and stuff. Like, you know, he would drop me off and I'd help him, and then he would we'd sort all the cows, and then he'd come back and inspect them, and then we'd load up and come home. I made pretty good money doing it. I think I got $5 a day, and when I was a kid. But you know, learned to ride good. You go up and down them mountains and around, and it helped. I say a lot of that helped me learn to ride better when I was young, to go on. And then, you know, we started basically, you know, Dad was team roping more and had his partners, and they was going around to a lot of ropings, and you know, he just we didn't get to spend much money on me roping because, I mean, he didn't have much. They worked for a living, and I probably wouldn't. He was right, I wasn't ready, but I thought I was ready. But so it was, you know, it took a while. When I became a teenager, then I started competing a lot, and then it just went on to into the rodeo world, you know. And so, you know, there's some points inside that when I say that my dad showed horses, you know, it used to be a National Western Stock Show was a big deal, and I was just a kid and in the way most of the time. But he said, we told me the night before, hey, we're going to go to the stock show in the morning. And okay. So we went up there and he roped calves. And as far as I was concerned, he was done. Was I was out in the arena trying to rope the calves when the boys untied them and then go back against the fence. And like I said, probably in the way most of the time. So after he roped calves, he didn't act like he was ready to go. So I was back in the pen roping, roping the calves in the back pen back there. And the reining took place and he won second in the reining, which I didn't even know he reined. I mean, I didn't really even, I was too young. I didn't even know really what was going on. And so he, he had showed reiners and roped and showed way before I even had an idea what any of it was about.
Did he ever let you ride any of his show horses?
Well, I mean, we only had 3 or 4 horses on the place. That was it. So, I probably rode someone I shouldn't have, but we didn't, not really, I would say, did I not ride him. I mean, we pretty much did everything on whatever he had, and some of them I was too little to ride. Mm-hmm. And some of them I could ride. So it was kind of one of those deals where we didn't have a ton of horses, and so we rode what we had.
Well, the first time, of course, we knew about you was the first year you went to the National Finals Rodeo, and you were 15 years old. At what age did you join the PRCA?
Well, I was 14 when I got my permit. You had to fill what they call a permit, and in order to earn a card, a PRCA card. And I was 14 and first of the year of 1975. And so they, I had went and watched he took me and my sister to watch the national finals, I think when I was 13, 12. And I never thought that was an option to make the national finals rodeo. I always wanted to be a professional cowboy. It was RCA Rodeo Cowboys Association at that point, and I was like, man, look at these guys, they're professionals. And so that was kind of a, man, if I could fill that permit and have one of those cars, that would be like the ultimate dream. And so that was kind of a goal. And when I was 14, you could enter some rodeos, professional rodeos, with a permit. And, so he got me my permit, and I happened to have some friends of my dad's that begged me to come to Arizona to a rodeo. It was a permit rodeo because at those days it was enter twice. And one of their partners couldn't be there, and I could rope twice. And they called and talked to my dad and called and talked to my dad. Finally, my dad agreed to, I think it cost about $75 to fly round trip to Phoenix them days. And so I flew round trip to Phoenix. They picked me up at the airport, and I went to that rodeo, and I won first and third, and I filled my permit. And so trying to get my dad to buy my card because money was so tight was, just almost not feasible. It's just not feasible. But when my money come in, he took a part of it and never told me that he was buying my card until we were on our way to our first 4th of July rodeo. And it was Greeley, Colorado, and it took permits. And so that's when I found out that he got my card, and I was a member of the Rodeo Cowboys Association. And it just happened to work out that had one of those years that you dream about having. It's every time we backed in there, it seemed like we won money. And then that was 1st of July that we took off, and then I turned 15 in August of that year, and here we are sitting in a place to almost in the top 15 in the world, and I'm just like starstruck. you know, and it's like I don't really know what's going on. I'm just doing he's taught me to do is heel steers, and that's what I was doing, you know, not really understanding what was happening. You know, I was just like, we're winning money and thought we were making money, you know, and I had no idea that was where this was headed.
Wow. So tell us about the horses you had at that moment in your life to get you to that point.
Well, I had I should remember his registered name. I probably never seen it. I rode a horse that my dad used to head on because he had two head horses and we didn't have a lot of horses. So I rode a horse called, his barn name was Bevo. I bought him from a neighbor down there, and actually my Uncle John Wadhams was the first one to try him, and he was a little bronky and John didn't want him, and so my dad bought him, and he headed on him for years, you know, and I just healed on what we had to heal on, and that was the horse I rode. And actually, it was kind of incredible. The picture in the Hall of Fame down there was my first year making the finals, and that horse's head's in that picture.
Oh, cool.
Do you happen to remember his registered name?
No, I don't.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah, yeah, that was a few years back. I do not remember his registered name, but
Man.
so that's how it really took place, and how our career took off.
Wow.
Well, let's talk about some of the. I mean, that's how you got started, JD. So, you know, of course, what we really want to do today is talk about the good horses that you've ridden, and maybe some that weren't so good. But just from there, you went and you just started rodeoing professionally then for the next several years before you ever went to a horse show.
Yeah, I was. You know, I didn't know nothing about the horse shows. Had no idea what. You know, my dad's still working, and so we was only rodeoing part time. And we were rodeoing, and at that point then he started, you know, incurring some more horses for me to ride as I was getting to where I could ride, and we could supplement income with me getting home from school and riding some and getting them started for, you know, doing that. So that's kind of went on, and then, you know, in turn, we got some more horses and just kept really rodeoing, and how the world show and how horse showing come involved in my life is, at this time I'm still just in high school, you know, and I encourage every young kid in the world to go to school, go to college. So you get a certain age, it was the best times of your life. But you know, all I could do is wait for the bell to ring to go home and ride. I mean, that was and rope. That's all I wanted to do. And you know, after I got out of school and got into college, and I mean, I'm like, I'm still making the NFR, but I'm looking at margin of profit at them days, and I'm like, I need to have a supplement of income, and trying to figure out what else I could do to make more money and go on and do whatever. So it was in 19, and I don't mistake me, but I think 1980 was the first time they had a super horse. Is that correct? That a super horse.
I don't remember, JD, but that's close. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I got a call from a guy, and his name was Sonny Jim Moore, and he called me to, would you go to the World Show with me and head one steer and heel one steer for me? I'll pay you $500. I'll pay all your expenses. I get you a hotel room, feed you. And I'm like, that's making money. It don't cost me nothing. You know, I'm like, it was 70, maybe it was 79. It was 1979 is when it was. And instead of 80. And so I went, and I was amazed. I was amazed at everything I'd seen. through this, they had a rodeo in San Francisco, California, called the Cow Palace. And I didn't know what I was watching. And they had the bridle class during the performance of the rodeos at the San Francisco. So I had watched these guys run and stop horses and turn these horses on the fence and seen them spin. And I'm like, I had never seen nothing like that. And I had never been anywhere to see anything like that. Now, my dad did that when I was a kid, but I didn't. That was not something I wanted to watch. It didn't have steers and it didn't have horns and we couldn't rope it. I was out. I was not thinking anything other than that's not what I'll go rope the dummy or I'll do something different. And when I seen that, I was always at the Cow Palace. There was some great horse trainers that I got to know later in life that a lot of them give me tips and help me down the road. But at that time I was young. They were, 30s and I'm just freaking teenage kid and I'm like, sure, I'm just standing there with my mouth open watching these horses. And so I had the utmost respect. So go to the World Show and I watch all these classes in 79 and I head for and heel for him. And that horse ended up winning the super horse. I had no idea what that meant. He did good and I did what I was paid to do and everything was good. But I watched every class and I was like, something to this.
Now, was that Diamond Sparkle?
Yep.
Okay.
Diamond Sparkle's the mare's name.
Right.
And so, I watched every class and I'm trying to figure out how to do this. Well, I meet a lot of the ropers. A lot of them. Had no idea what it was. I wasn't even thinking what it was leading into. I had no idea. And so in the meantime, through that, I was contracted by him to go there. Had a lot of people ask me, hey, will you head for me? Will you heel for me? And I'm like, get paid this kind of money? Yes, I'll do it. Yes, I'll do it. Well, wound up I couldn't do it because I was contracted by Sonny Jim and that wasn't allowed.
Oh, okay.
And so I just roped them 2 steers there, but I met everybody and visited with everybody and just was in thought with everybody. So in 80, I had a Palomino horse that was a Wise Camp bred horse. Don't remember his name. Anyway, so I went to some horse shows. I found out from some of these guys where some horse shows were, and they took me, come and, so I learned what buying stalls was, and I learned at that point then I could help because I wasn't, I was doing it on my own. I was taking my own rig.
Right.
And I just had this horse I was going to qualify him in the heeling. And I got him qualified in the heeling. It took a lot of work and a lot of runs. And I went there and had somebody head for me, and he missed. Whatever, it wasn't no big deal. I didn't do no good. And so then in 1981, we're going to start another program. I'm going to figure this out. And I was roping with my dad, and I'm like, I'm going to take my dad's horse to the horse show and my horse to the horse show, and I'm going to try to get him qualified. And then when we go to the World Show, I'll be there to heel for my dad, and he'll be there to head for me. And we'll try to make a team out of this. And, we had, I had a little gray horse. His registered name was Swevin. And my dad's horse's registered name was Hank Hauser.
Hank Hauser?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I wound up going and getting qualified, and we went down to the World Show, and all them people that I'd met and helped throughout the year, I helped at the World Show that year and healed for them. And I wound up winning the world in 1981 on that horse, and I healed for a guy by the name of Tim Hoyt, and he won the world in the head, and my dad won second. And I was like, man, Dad, I think odds are you can you could win this. And then he brought Hank Hauser back the next year and won the world on him in the head. And those are the same 2 horses we rode at the NFR at the same time.
All right.
Oh, wow.
And so, you get a lot of raps that people say, a lot of them horses aren't good enough to go to the NFR. I can name a ton of horses and not in it that's been shown, that's been world champions, that have been to the NFR, that have been to rodeos. And so that's I would say would be a myth of the old days. Maybe not, people didn't want to admit it or whatever the case, because we've had a lot of them. And I know a lot of people, C.R. Bradley. I mean, you can go down the Sam Rose train. Skip Steelbar was one of the greatest horses of all time. So went to the NFR and was at the rodeos and was a world champion. And so there's a lot of great horses that did do both. But that's how my show career got started, really.
Wow.
How long did, excuse me, Bobby.
You're good.
How long did y'all show Swevin and Hank Hauser then?
I showed Swevin once. And then my dad showed Hank Hauser the second year. Mm-hmm. And won the world on him. And, then it kind of started acculating and exploding, and actually at that time I was starting to go to more horse shows, and I was basically not training. I was doing what they would call catch riding. They would say, hey, could you come show this horse for me at this show? And so I got to go into more shows, meeting more people, riding some horses. And a friend of mine started probably one of the biggest operations in the world in the horse industry that I was around, and called me to show his horse. And it was Ed Gaylord called me to show Zampar Jack. And I showed, and then, it's just kind of multiplied from, going to the horse shows to learning and meeting people. And, then later in life, I opened my own training business. But I worked for a lot of people that I look up to in the industry, and got a lot of advice. And I worked for every one of them for free, so I could rodeo on the weekends. And they housed me and put 1 or 2 horses up for me when I would stay there and work for them. And some of the icons in the industry that even today, that I would give them a ton of credit for, some of the things that I learned from them. I had a lot of knowledge from my dad from riding horses before, but I had a lot to learn if I was going to be successful. And so I worked hard because I liked it. I wanted to learn it, and it was very, very good time in my life. That I can tell you that I rode tons of different horses and worked for different people that were incredible.
All that knowledge and experience led you to become basically earn 47 world championships within the AQHA. You've been involved with at least 4 super horses, and you've had 18 high point horses of the year. Out of your AQHA show career, is there one horse that's the most memorable to you?
I've thought a lot about that, and I probably only have. I liked them all. I liked them. I liked the good ones, the ones I won on. I liked horses that I didn't win on, that I did a bad job on training, or I didn't get showed right. I liked all the horses. I have a. Meantime, my grandfather, my mother's dad, owned some race horses, and he owned a stud called Rapid Bar that was a very famous racehorse. And he had a set of gray mares that were all really good AAA bred mares. And then he was non-rodeo. I mean, he had just race horses and did what he did. And so after it was all said and done, he was selling them all. And he gave my mom one gray mare. And through that gray mare, we wasn't really set up for it, but we bred her. My dad bred her, and we kept that gray mare and we raised a lot of colts out of it. And
What was her name?
Mighty Mindy. And she raised multiple champions, but probably, me and my sister, she's 2 years older than me, and we used to argue over who got the babies, who got the colts. We would argue, we would fuss. And so Mom and Dad come up with a plan that she got the mares and I got the studs that we gilled, and that's the way it was. And we still shared them a lot, but my favorite horse was a horse registered name, Flit's Friend, and I called barn name Pac-Man. That's when Pac-Man was a big deal, and actually I rode him. My dad broke him, and I rode him at his first rodeo when he was a 3-year-old, North Platte, Nebraska. And then my sister that had that mare Firewater Fiesta that she won over $1 million on running barrels, and all them were out of this gray mare. And so that was our breeding program, and Kelly still got some colts out of that mare that she won so much on, and still doing some part of that. But, that Pac-Man was one that I rode at the national finals for a lot of my career. He was the first AQHA, PRCA heel horse of the year, the first year they had that. So, and he was given to me by my parents. So if I had to pick one, that'd probably be my pick.
Yeah.
But, they all had a special place in my heart.
Sure.
Yeah. That's incredible. Wow.
Well, I've got a question for you. This might be kind of out of order, JD, but I remember at the World Show, and I know you and your cousin Jay Wadhams roped together a lot. Tell us about the time that you and Jay tied. Was it the junior heeling at the World Show, and you had to do a rope off, and you were helping each other?
Oh yeah, that was cool. We worked together, and we worked to win, and we wound up in a tie. Going back to Flit's Friend, Jay is the one that rode him at the World Show and won the world on him. My cousin, But yeah, we tied, and but to us that's an honor, and we give each other 100% whether we're showing or whether we weren't, and it was a win for both of us just to get in that position. We don't look at any other thing than it's high level competition, and we're going to do the best we can do and put the points in somebody else's hands. And so, helping each other, whatever, it was still, that's what we get paid to do. That was our job. And, you do the best you can do, and it's in somebody else's hands then. But yeah, we've competed against each other and with each other all of our lives since he was a kid. And, when you're in the arena and you're competing, you only have one friend, and that's your partner. Everybody else is not your friend, whether they're your relative or not. I mean, that now you walk out of the arena, you can be friends with everybody, but everybody's your enemy when you walk in the arena because you want to be the best.
Well, go ahead and finish that story. Y'all tied in. It was in the finals, and you tied, so you had to have a rope off, and you're roping with each other. One's heading for while the other heels, and then vice versa. So in the rope off, I mean, you're both trying to win, but you're helping each other.
Yeah, that's I think I pretty much vividly remember it. We just switched ropes at the back end and rode the same horses. Like the horse that I heeled on when it was a tie, I turned around and Jay headed on the horse that he heeled with on the time. We just turned around and switched ropes at the back end and rode the same horses to help each other, if I remember it correctly. And you know, there again, when you talk about a team competition, if you're on a team, you're on a team. And we wasn't worried about who was going to be the world champion. We just knew we was in the right spot to be the world champion, and we're competing against each other for it. So we're both champions at that point.
What was the horse you were riding then?
Well, I don't remember that. Okay. that was some years ago. That was some years ago. But that was one thing that I have a very few recollections about. A lot of how the names of some of them horses that I should remember, but I've been through quite a few of them. It's hard to remember them all. But I get to see some good pictures at times, and it flashes about the name.
You and Jay won the BFI. Do you remember what horses you were riding then?
Yep. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I rode I bought my father he was a 3-year-old when I bought him. I bought him from Choate Webster, and I seen him down there in Oklahoma at Choate's, and he's 3-year-old, and I called my dad, and I said, man, I think I'm just going to buy you a Father's Day present because I bought him on Father's Day. And his registered name was Kathy's Dividend. He was by a horse called Dividend, a racehorse called Dividend. And then I brought him home and rode him a little bit, and then my dad trained him and as a head horse, and I rode him at the BFI, and he was an amazing horse. I won the BFI, I won the National Finals Team Roping and the National Finals Steer Roping all on that same horse. And then I had a heel horse that we took that I had bought from Jamie Stover because Jay Wadhams liked him, and we needed another horse, and I bought him, and his name was A. And Colonel Caldee. And actually, when I was done with him, I gave him back to Jamie, and his son just showed him year before last at the Youth World Show at 28, 9 years old. His little boy still showed him, but that was those two horses. They did a lot for us, and they both. Well, I never did show the bay horse, but the horse Jay rode, I'm gonna say that horse had over 400 or 500 points. Wow. He was showed a lot.
Now, what was his name?
Colonel Bill James raised him, and his nephew that had him taking him to the horse shows. And Bill had a cutting horse, Colonel something, and it's Colonel Freckles bred horse.
Okay.
But that's why I say should remember his name, but I remember his barn name. His barn name was A. But that's I don't remember exactly his whole registered name.
Awesome. So talk to us a little bit about Box Diamond Cut. This was the 1997 Reserve Super Horse.
Yeah, I messed up. That one's still. Still got me a little bit because I was learning to do the cow horse, and I missed a marker in the finals of the cow horse, and cost me moving up enough to win the super horse, and it was all on me. It was all on me. But one of the greatest horses I ever showed, I bought it from Chris and Vicki Benedict when it was a 3-year-old. And probably one of the most deserving horses that I ever rode that I never won a world championship on. I think I won 8 reserve world championships on that horse. And he was, at that time, after I bought him, then I sold him to Colby Knox. And Colby Knox owned him, and I showed him for about 2 or 3 years there. And he was an amazing horse.
Always in the heeling or both ends?
I showed him calf roping, head and heeling, and cow horse.
Oh
Oh,
my goodness.
Yeah, he was a good horse. He was a good horse. You know, and I got to give kudos to Chris and Vicky Benedict. You know, they also had another horse that I won the world on. His registered name was Armac San, and I won the world on him as a junior and as a senior, and wound up actually the mother-in-law owned him, I think, but they, you know, it's their horse, and they give that horse to me for Christmas after I'd won it, because I said I could sell him, and they didn't really want to sell him, and his barn name was Spock, and Spock wasn't, he just kind of liked it around there, and they liked him being around there, and then that's a horse that Jay Wadhams rode at the national finals to heel on for me when me and him made it, and he went on, and he took a lot of people to a lot of places. You know, he was when Trevor Brazil started heeling, he rode him some, and there was a lot of people. Bob Harris rode him a lot. He was phenomenal, and you know, kudos to Chris and Vicky for getting me that horse, and that was a nice gesture.
So you've had a lot of incredible horses. We were talking about Pac-Man earlier. So let's talk about Pac-Man's personality. What was he like?
You know, had his idiosyncrasies, definitely. That had just enough gray badger in him that sometimes he would badger you. But gentlest, kindest horse in the world. But it was a little bigger, stronger horse than you would like really put out there as a heel horse. You could lead him up to the barn to saddle him, and if you tied him up, he'd pull back. If you throwed the lead shank over the rail and he pulled a little bit and there was no tug on it, he'd stand there for days. Wouldn't move. But if you tied him up, he would pull back. And, you know, his personality was very laid back. Good, go do his job. Loved to do his job. You know, never really had to school him much, but if you thought you was going to school him, you had your hands full. Otherwise, he was really quiet. You know, I did pretty much every event on him. My sister run barrels on him first. You know, she was going to take him to the fraternities. And I kind of started, one of my heel horse got crippled, and so because he was a gelding and the parents gave him to me, I got to get him back and start roping on him more. And she had Firewater Fiesta, but we tripped steers on him, we headed on him, we roped calves on him, roped a lot of calves on him. I mean, I could go to the rodeo and heel, trip steers, and rope calves on him at the same rodeo. He had the personality, he liked to do his job, knew his job. Friendly horse. You know, but he just had a few of those pullback idiosyncrasies, but nothing major. Didn't require a lot of maintenance. Never did much maintenance on him. He always took good care of himself. And then, you know, there's been a lot of colts out of that mare. There's Moonshine Mischief, that was a bay colt that my cousin Jay Wadhams rode at all the rodeos. Was out of that Mighty Mindy mare. And then my sister's Firewater Fiesta, that was a totally opposite mare than Pac-Man. Totally opposite. It was by Firewater Flit and out of Mighty Mindy. And I can honestly say, I don't know if she was because my sister babied her so much or what. She's only really liked one person, and that was my dad as a man. I could go in there, and she was just a blithering idiot for me to be around. She's like, he's going to get on me and ride me. We're going to go to the mountains, and I'm not going to like it. And she didn't like it. And now my dad could go in there and catch her, but at that time my dad shot all of our horses too. He had a little different kind of a rapport with a lot of those horses then. You know, I want to say that mare, she was never rode. Other than from the racetrack, the mother, Mighty Minnie, we'd never rode her, not one time. After we got her, we just started breeding her. You know, there's another one, I bred that Mighty Minnie to a Popular Resort figure. And got a horse we call Popsicle. Can't quite think of his name, registered name right now. I just looked at it, but this horse we took to the World Show. We had Taxi was out of that mare, and Taxi was the gray horse that Jay headed on for me at the World Show every year, every year for years. And we had him, and then we had Popsicle, and that mare just she was just a producing mare, perfect size, 15 hands. She weighed 1250 and just put good bone and good structure on all them horses. Popsicle was actually at the White House 2 years ago. The guy that was head of defense, Mike White's his name. Not the bull rider Mike White, but he was lived in California, and he roped, and he come by his house on the way going to Washington, D.C. He says, "Got anything for me to ride I could buy?" And I'd let him. That horse was 17 at the time because he didn't need much work, and he had to work all the time, but he liked to go to the rodeos on the weekends. And so there's been a lot of colts out of that mare, for her personality that she put on him. She put pretty much every mare was the same. They was kind of, I don't know if Kelly handled them all the time more than we did because she rode them all the time than the geldings. Doing what they do in the barrel race world, they have to be a little bit more high-strung, high-energy type horses. And, man, I kind of like mine are, quieter. But every one of them she run barrels on first. Even the geldings, and they were all very successful barrel horses too. I want to believe that every colt that we rode out of Mighty Mindy, I don't think we ever bred her back to the same stud twice. I think we switched studs every year, and we got good colts every year. It didn't matter as much what the stallion was as what that mare could stamp on a horse to go become a winner. Mm-hmm. And then Kelly's mare, Firewater Fiesta, she's went on and produced a ton of barrel horses, and has some good sires out there out of some studs. So that background of that old mare, I guess would say that if we had 5 of them, we could make a living. If we had 5 good brood mares like that, we could make a living just raising babies. So they're all of them had similar personalities when it come to going in the arena. They knew their job to go win, and they weren't the lovingest pet that you wanted. I would say Pac-Man was probably the biggest pet of all of them. Mm-hmm. I had Mailbox was another one. I had we had a lot of them that we won a lot on, a lot of them horses, but I would say she put a stamp on them, and it was called a winner.
Mm.
Did you ever rope on Firewater Fiesta?
Glad you asked that question. I hope my sister watches this. But yes, and she didn't really like it, and she could do it, and she was good at it. We were in Reno, Nevada, and Kelly made the finals on her or something, and I was staying in a friend of mine named Perry DiLoretto, and Kelly, she ran in the first round of the barrel race, and she come out, and I said, "What was that?" She was a second, 1.2 tenths off the pace. I'm like, "What was that, Kelly? That was terrible." I don't know. She's just mad at me, Jay. She just don't want to do it. She just said she didn't want to do it today. I said, "Well, we can't have that. We can't have that." "Well, what are you going to do about it?" "Oh, I'll take her and put her up, Kelly." I took her out there to Perry DiLoretto's for 3 days and roped on her every day. Got her mind off of that barrel racing. And she'd say, "Where's my horse?" I said, "Well, it's out there with mine and Dad's. It's about 15 miles out of town. It's fine. I'll take care of it. I'm feeding it and take care of it." "You're graining it and giving it all of its stuff, isn't you?" "Oh, yeah, Kelly. You bet I am. Just run a second off the pace." "Yeah, I am. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've got it. I'm doing it all." and she come back in there, and she outrun him by 6/10 in the second round. She won the second round, broke the arena record, and was the 12th horse to make the finals, and come back and broke her own record. And so really the only time I got to rope on that horse is if she wasn't winning in the barrel race, and then she got to do a little something else. But the older she got, the more I got managed roping on her. So, but no, she was just a horse that loved her job, But sometimes she just needed something different to do, and yeah, so I roped on her, not a lot, but I did rope on her quite a bit.
Well, has Kelly heard that story now about Reno?
Oh yeah, she was there, but she never went out there to where I was riding her.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, what are you doing? Oh, Dad, I'm just bringing cattle up. I was roping every day on her. I didn't rope a lot, but I roped every day on her. Just give her something different to do, and my sister would tell you that she knew I wouldn't do nothing wrong on the horse. But, that was kind of her baby, too. You had to be a little careful of what's wrong and right. But, no, I roped quite a bit on her. She would have been a phenomenal head horse. But, all through my sister's career, one year there at Reno, we rode the same horse to head on at the BFI she run in the barrel race that night at the rodeo. We didn't have a ton of horses. And when we made one, it was a family horse. And it didn't slow it down from roping on it in the rodeo that day, which is a myth that a lot of people have today. You can't do that. We did it for a lot of years and it worked. Now it might not work today, I don't know, but at them years it did. And all them horses did a lot of events. That's what we had to do. We didn't have enough horses to have a specialized horse. So, and those Pac-Man himself was a specialized horse. In every event, he could do it. And honestly, I never wanted to trip steers on him. When I kind of quit heeling and started heading, so I could go to the rodeos with Trey, I had the other horses to head on, and my dad was tripping steers in the seniors, and so I'm just not going to let him stand around here and get old. I'm going to go tripping steers on him. And in fact, he won the seniors roping at Cheyenne Frontier Days on him, tripping steers. So I'm going to say that most horses that want to be good horses can be good in whatever you want to do on them.
So you're also an AQHA professional horseman. So can you tell us a little bit about that and how you got involved?
Well, that was something to be proud of. It's when they offer you that, or you get the honor to be one, it holds you to a higher integrity. Not that it should, but you think about it, and the thing that you hope at some point that you can touch some young kid's life and change him by being a professional horseman, and make him better too, and make him want to be that person. So there is a level of pride in being a professional horseman, and I sometimes get mad at myself and wonder if I still deserve it when I mess up. But no, it's quite quite a thing to have in your pocket.
Right, and that's what it's all about, is paying it forward for the next generation.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
This past Youth World Show, you helped Jose from Brazil win a world championship. So can you tell us about that and his journey?
Well, I've been going to Brazil now for about 11 years, and I go over there and show. My partner over there, Rafael Pauliano, is an amazing guy, and he come over here and he learned a lot, worked for me, and then he opened a training business up over there, and this is one of his clients' sons. And you can qualify internationally through a program, and they come over here and they leased a horse from me to take that boy, actually 2 horses, to take that boy to the youth world. And I told Rafael to come over here, and he brought him over here, and they come and practiced and leased a mare named DT Juno Shine, and then Irish Colored Whiskey Mix, another horse by two clients at that time. Kimby Holstein owned DT Juno Shine, and Lau Grantham owned the other mare, and they were kind enough to lease the two mares to that boy, and he come and practiced and went down there and kind of took a little pressure off me because my son showed up to heel for him, so I didn't have to. So I got to sit there and watch and kind of be a fan, But the boy did a really fine job, and that's the international people getting a chance to come over here and see our way is pretty cool, and they're a great bunch of people, and they just sometimes get shy because of the language barrier, but they're really a great bunch of people, and there's talent over there. There's talent in a lot of different places than just the United States. So to go there and see their horse shows and see their horses, and then for them to come here, it's generates a lot of friends, and it's been a good time.
Yeah.
You mentioned that your son Trey showing up, and so you got to watch. Let's talk about Trey just a minute, and the horses that he's riding. He's a professional rodeo cowboy, been to the NFR, showing at the World Show. So let's talk about the horses he's riding.
Well, he's got some good horses, and he's did a good job with them. I used to show his godparents are some people named Don and Joyce Tisdall, and I started showing horses for them years ago, and I've showed, they've had super horses, and they had a horse called Romancing the Chicks that I showed, and I always thought that was like the coolest name for a horse, Hey, what are you doing, JD? I'm riding Romancing the Chicks. Thought that was a good deal, and it was a little bay gelding, and out of a mare called RS Lily Starlight that I won the super horse on for Kurt Harris and Dr. Kurt Harris, and anyway, a good little horse, and it belonged to Don and Joyce Tisdall. And so when Trey was ready to take off rodeoing, somehow Trey got the horse from me and Don and Joyce. I don't really know how it took place, but anyway, that's the first horse he rode at the NFR and won the finals. And that was the horse. It was a horse that I got more points on in 1 year than any other horse I've ever showed. And I showed him the head kneel and the calf roping, and all Trey did was heel on him. And and he's still 19 years old and still at the house, and we still ride him. But he's he's come up a little different, learning about the showing, because that's what I was doing to make living then, and so he's had some horses and learning to show horses and likes it. So I just continue wishing him success out there rodeo and have a good time and enjoy it. He's come back and work and train horses.
Kind of sounds like his daddy.
Well, I hope he's a better man than I am. So that'd be an honor to have that said.
Did he show it to Youth World?
Oh yeah. That's the only World Show trophies I have. I get most of them all go to the owners, and he showed. I don't know. He showed a mare named Slinky Lady, and I think won a world championship in a reserve, and I took him there 3 or 4 times. I had different horses that he took, and it's quite a. To me, it was a big deal for him to go show, and I enjoyed it. I liked it better before the adults got to help the kids, because I roped under a lot of pressure a lot of times in my life, but when you back in there and you help a kid and they do the best and you just happen to miss, there ain't no worse feeling. There's no worse feeling than that, and I used to go to the World Show and help all the kids all the time. Never would take $1 from any of them. I did it because I was proud of them kids going and roping. And it's as I got a little older and stuff, and the heat got a little deeper, I was like, man, I need to get this younger guy over here to do it. He can keep up the pace. But it is it's something that I believe that every young kid ought to learn about. They don't have to show horses, but they'll learn about it. They'll learn about the riding, learn about what it takes to get them to that point, and then they can go any direction they want to. I think it would benefit their roping. The better you ride, the better you can rope. And I think that all kids should learn a bit of a piece of that.
Bobby?
Yes, being a world champion and then also teaching your son and mentoring him to become a world champion as well. Just tell us about that process. I mean, that's just got to feel incredible to be able to pass on that skill.
It is. It's an incredible feeling. And I'm going to contribute 99% of that to my dad. He's a leader in our family. And I would say he mentored Trey's more than I did, as far as the demeanor and how you go about it and how you ride the horses and all that. I might have had a little something to do with the roping part of it, because my dad never healed much. He knew how to heel and knew the process, but he never healed. And so as Trey come along, I'd help him with his healing, but I'm going to give a big step out of the limelight a little bit there, because there's a set of guidelines at my house with my dad out there, and you have to follow them. And he made Trey stay pretty close to the rules on how to ride them horses at a young age, and I think that probably was, it was better coming from him than me at the time, and I think that he deserves most of the credit for that, for his success and stuff with that, with the riding the horse. And like I said, I might could have helped him with his roping, but if it's all said and done, I'm gonna say my dad mentored him more than I did.
Did Trey grow up always wanting to be a roper?
No, he never roped or rode till he was 12. Yeah, he never. But just one day he come out and that's the day he decided he wanted to do it, and which was fine at the point. I didn't, I wasn't going to force him to do something he didn't want to do, and I don't know, that day he come out of the house and that's what he wanted to do, and that's all he wants to do now, ride and rope. That's all he wants to do, and so yeah, it's worked out good. Where I was just the opposite. And I did it when I was young, and he probably outlast me because he took a little more time to start, But it was good. He was more developed. It was easier to learn, probably.
Well, he obviously had a couple of pretty good teachers for what he's gotten done already, and he's what, 22?
Oh no, he's 29.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's 29. But yeah, I think he'll. I don't think we've quite seen him peak yet. I think there's still, and he'll even tell you there's still a few glitches in his game to where he wants to be. But if you're not always looking at what can make you better, you're probably not going to be successful. So to me, when he's picking out things and he's looking at things he could do a little bit better, that means he wants to be better, and he'll keep going.
So you've ridden a lot of special horses within your life. Tell us about Zanpar Jack.
Zanpar Jack probably ought to be a Hall of Famer. A horse, and he, yeah, he's. I learned a lot in that horse. He was actually trained in the cow horse by a mentor, Billy Allen, won the world on Zanpar Jack and the cow horse as a 4-year-old, and then. And that time at Carol Rose owned him, and how it all took place, I'm not real sure, but Ed Gaylord ended up buying the horse, and I ended up showing him for Ed when he was in Carol's barn for a while before he'd come there. But that was probably, at that time, was one of the first horses that I ever rode that had already did the cow horse and all this stuff, and I'm learning, and of course all I'm doing is showing him in the heeling and the calf roping at that point, and that was kind of what his job was. A lazy, he was going to be built for a roping horse deal, and he was going to be a roping horse for that deal. But as we trained him and as we went to shows and stuff, that was still in a learning process for me, learning a lot about it, and you talk about, some of the great ones there. He was a pretty special individual, that horse was, that taught me a lot and got me a lot of experience, and just riding and learning and roping on horses with credentials for somebody else means a totally different. That was probably one of the things that was hard in my life, as when I was a kid and I only missed for myself. If I didn't do my job, I only didn't do my job for myself. And when you start training horses and you go to competitions and you see these things, and now they paid me all year to ride this horse, and they paid me to train this horse, and they paid me to go do this, and we've went through the experiences of going to the horse shows, getting the horse solid trained, and then we've already did that expense. Now we're going to the world show, and you think you've got a horse that you could go win on, and you feel like, and you go out and it happens to be the day you miss. I don't only miss for me. I miss for my partner. I miss for the people that own the horse, that's paid me for a year to have a chance to win a world championship, and you have to look them in the eyes, and it's a bad day. I'm sorry. It's a different feeling, how to learn how to. You're never okay with it, but how to know that you're going to rope in the next class, or you've got to reach down deep, and that was one of the things that probably was hard for me if I did mess up. When I did mess up, is knowing that these people have just paid me for a year to ride this horse and go forward and put their heart and soul and their trust in me to go try to make their horse a world champion, and I missed. That was a tough feeling. I mean, it was tough to learn to you have to walk. You have to get over it because you got to compete some more. But it was not easy.
That's truly a testament to your mental strength, though, just keeping that winning mindset of like, what's in the past is in the past, and we've got to go to the next class, and we've got to get our head in the game and rope like a champ the next time.
It is. It's you've got to have that mental toughness and strength, and we call it the 15-minute rule, something like that. Just give me 15 minutes before you talk to me, and I might get over my mad. But I don't know if I can stay mad for 15 minutes now. But that was, like I said, that was a tough one, mm-hmm. And it was probably one of the greatest growing experiences mm-hmm. that you ever have, because you have to face your peers. When you walk out of that arena, everybody else seen it too. And you got to be man enough to walk with your head up, and hey, it's the way it is.
Mm-hmm. Don't you think that most owners who own team roping horses, they understand? I mean, it's hard, like you say. They've been paying you for a year to get them a world championship, and you miss in the at the world show, but don't most of them understand as much as they hate it, just like you hate it? I mean, they're not gonna
take their horse out of training, and they're not gonna not dislike you, and they're not I think if there's any dislike goes on, it's me. I dislike myself when I do it because I let myself down too, and I let them down. And to me, it's a mental stage that if you're passionate about what you do and you don't do your job, it's not a good feeling. And the last thing I want to do is have to face them and say, "Man, I'm sorry." I don't want that. If I don't win it, and the judges say I won what I won, it's in their hands. But I have to catch. We have to catch for the judges to have something to mark. We have to give them a chance to put your name on the paper. And if we don't, it's I'm going to say that probably I was harder on myself than any client would ever been hard on me. But it was the lack of me not doing my job that I didn't like, and it was hard for me. I think that anytime you're okay with being okay, it's not okay.
Well, that championship mindset, World Show is just right around the corner. People are hitting the arenas. They're working real hard and training right now. Looking back on your AQHA show career, do you have a most memorable moment at the World Show?
I guess I've not really, and I would say that I don't necessarily have a most memorable moment yet. Because I'm not done, and I'm still trying, and I'm still competing, and so I'm going to say that there's some great times coming. I will say this about the World Horse Show in Oklahoma City and that arena. Got a pretty special place in my heart. That was my first national finals, my first World Show, and it's going to be gone. So, it had a pretty special place in my heart. I had a lot of memories in that arena. Good ones, bad ones. My second year at the NFR, I roped terrible. The first year I roped great. Won everything. Second year, I couldn't catch a cold. And my dad did a good job, and it was just kind of that year, maybe I was too cocky. Maybe I was, who knows what it was. But that was probably a heck of a growing year. I mean, that's been 48 years ago, 49 years ago, and I still ain't forgot it.
Yeah.
So, but I do have a lot of memories in that arena.
Yeah.
Been good.
It's been, yeah. In addition to Diamond Sparkle, you also helped with 4 other super horses. Smoke-a-Mokey.
First one, never forget it.
Okay. Popular Resort Figure.
Yep.
RS Lily Starlight.
Yep.
And Check This Dooley.
Yeah, there's one more out there too. That broke my foot during the middle of it, and I didn't get to show him, but he won the super horse.
Who was that?
It was a yellow stud that belonged to Beach Fork Ranch. And, I had Matt Cook ride him in the cow horse, and I think we won the cow horse, and we won the calf roping and second in the heeling. And I had him in training all year and showed him all year and qualified everything and broke my foot the day before the World Show. Didn't get to show him, so I'm going to take credit for it. Anyway, maybe I didn't ride him, but I'm going to take credit for it, or some credit for it. But yeah, I'm going to tell you, I'm lucky. I got to learn from a guy too. I worked for him, and Bob Avila had the horse in training for Kimberly Fritz from Anchorage, Alaska. Very nice. Fritz people were a very nice family. And we started talking about this super horse thing. And I was heading, heeling, roping calves on him, and Bob was doing the reining and the cow horse on him. And this lady, I don't know, she was a little tough to beat. This Carol Harris Parker had a horse called Rugged Lark, and she was a little hard to beat. And the way the system was that, they get going quite a few more classes, but he was a great horse too. And we was trying to figure out how to beat that horse for the super horse. In the classes we were in, we had 5 classes. And we went the first year, we got spanked pretty good. We thought we were ready, but we weren't ready. Or I wasn't, or however it may go down. And so we sat down with Kim and her family, and Bob and me, and set up a program of we're gonna try this again the next year. And so we spent all year philosophizing about how to get him qualified and when to let him rest and when to do this and do that, because at that time, it's a little ways from Yamhill, Oregon, where Bob was, to Pueblo, Colorado. So we was trying to figure out how to manage the horse between us. And at that time, I was back home a lot more. But I went to Oregon to some shows up there with them quite a bit. And it was a long process figuring it out. And it was, when we pulled it off, I'll never forget it, Bob. But I had one... I think he won the cow horse that year, second, and placed in the reining. And now I have the three roping finals left. We made the finals in all 5 classes, and then we have to come back and show in the finals in them days. And so he had already shown in his 2 finals, and so I went out and worked on him in the team roping, and I think I won the heeling and maybe second or third in the head. And the calf roping finals used to be the last night of the World Show on Saturday night. And it was the last class because they had jumping and then the calf roping. And so I always have an arena somewhere that I can go practice tune horses up during the World Show. And this one here, I was using the Lazy E. They had a little indoor arena up top called the Mare Barn when I was working for Ed. And so I was like, well, he's tired, but we better go out and work him in the calf rope and get him ready. Not knowing the consequences when I get there. It's kind of a funny story now because there's times I can't figure out who was the most arrogant, me or Bob Avila. We're good friends, but we both had a lot of pride in them days just about how it was going to go down. And but anyway, I went out there and we worked him, and he was tired. And he really wasn't wanting to just be really good on the rope and the calf roping. And of course, I didn't. I'm just going to work him, and then put him up and let him rest. And I had stalls there, and put him up and let him rest, and then work him again. And I got back in there. I left at 8 o'clock that morning, and I got back in there at 5 o'clock that afternoon. And which I didn't know the consequences, right? I mean, I knew what was at stake, but I didn't know what I had to do. I mean, I just knew I had to do as good as I could do, and whatever happened, happened.
Was the horse not
wanting
to work?
He was just wanting to be a little weak on the rope, working the rope. He was stopping, running and stopping. That was not his issue. And I was working him on that rope, trying to keep his attention. Well, never really had a problem with it most of the time, but now we're talking, he's on his 10th run at the World Show. And I used him to help on some during the horse show because I wanted to keep him sharp, not let him get lazy. And that he wasn't a lazy horse, but I wanted to keep sharp roping on him. So when I backed in there to show him, he was ready. He was on top of his game. And so I pulled back in there, and of course, got dirt from head to toe. And I take the horse over there, and Bob and Miss Kim Fritz, Kim's, I'm going to wash him and all that. And I say, all right, I'm going to go take a shower. I'll be back. Well, I come back walking in there, that barn, and I mean, at this time, I have no idea. I mean, I just know we got this at stake, but I have no idea where it's at. I just know that I got to do good. I mean, and I don't have any idea where I drew up. Nothing. And when I get back in there, and it's 7:15. They're getting ready to start up, and so I go back there where stalls are, and Bob says, "Hey, can I talk to you?" And we had made a deal with each other when we started doing this. You do your thing, I'll do mine. We won't step on each other's feet. And I mean, we kind of had to do it. We each had our own game, and we're both winners, trying to be winners. And so he come back in there, and so he starts. He said, "Can I talk to you a second?" Yeah. What do you want? What do you got to say? Bit of spark in my voice. Not really unlike. Been through this now for 2 years, and I don't know what's coming. So I said, "Yeah, whatever you got to say." He said, "Well, this is the situation." He said, "You drew up first in the finals." And he said, "We got to be in the top 10 to win the Super Horse. Will you carry 2 loops?" And white boy here blowed a gasket. I said, "Absolutely not. I wasn't hired here to miss. Not going to do that." Okay, I just wanted to ask. And he went on his way. So the jumping's going on, and I get my horse out there, riding around. Other people that had an invested interest was coming out talking to me. Not investment interest in any other than people I respected, and they're like, even one guy that was hard to do things with, he talked to me. He said, "Now, it's all right to be dumb. Don't be stupid." Thinking if I was to miss and I used 2 loops, I still might get in the top 10 if somebody else missed and pull off the Super Horse win. So it was, they're taking the jumps out of the arena. And I'm starting to think about it a little bit. Like this could happen, that I was to miss, but that just ain't gonna happen. Could happen. And so I went and found me some string, and I tied on a second rope. Didn't need it. I was first out. Horse worked. He as good as one could work, and I won the world in the calf roping on him that night. But the whole lead up to that conversation at that Super Horse moment was, we had spent 2 years working on the thought of winning this, and to let my pride get in the way and not packing 2 loops, I was like, man, that's 730 days we've been after it from tonight, and maybe I ought to be a little smarter than use my head a little bit more than just think that I was that person that didn't need it. So yeah, that was a fun year to go through the whole process. And then I went on and I enjoyed doing other events, cow horsing and stuff, and I've learned a lot from Bob, and I learned a lot from Benny Catrone, and I learned a lot from Don Murphy, and I like I said, I got to work for some of the greatest in my eyes. Some of my mentors that when I would watch show were unbelievable trainers, and I got to work for my friend Robbie Schroeder, different trainer in a different way, incredible hand, taught me a lot. I got to work for some great people, and be around greatness in their fields. And so it helped launch what my goals were, and I got Don Murphy helped me with Popular Resort Figure, and I showed him in every class. And same deal, come to the last class, I had to place and I had to win 8th or above to win the Super Horse in the cow horse. I'm a little out of my field right here. Made the finals on him already, but I'm a little out of my field right here. And got to do that. Texas Dooley, I got to do that same thing. So there was a lot of variables that went along with every one of them horses, but the hard work and the things that I learned from other people along the way is what made it all come together.
That's good. Yes, sir.
So yeah, it's been it was pretty gratifying, and I guess the question that I'm asked more than any question in the world, the question I'm asked is what's my favorite win? I think that's a question you was headed to ask me, wasn't it?
I was going to ask you about some horses, but I mean, I'm all ears.
And, I have no answer. I just say it's my next one.
Yeah, that's awesome. So working with American Quarter Horses your entire life, what has been the one lesson that you think is the most important that you've learned from American Quarter Horses?
That you can learn something from them if you're willing to learn.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the horse is an individual, special breed, and that if you're willing to take the time and teach him, he's willing to take the time for you to learn too. There's just not a lot of horses in the industry that you can't learn something from if you're willing to learn. And there's very few breeds that way. This breed is something quite of nature that is incredible. I've learned a ton from horses that I never thought that I didn't already know. But they've showed me better ways to do it too.
Yeah. Well, now this leads me to my next question. So, in your eyes, JD, what constitutes a good horse?
Man, I don't know. I've had some that wasn't so pretty. I've had some that was pretty. I've had some that wasn't as talented as others that I won a ton on. I've had some that was really talented that I didn't win much on. But I think the heart of the animal is the soul of the industry. And most of these horses have a big heart. Mm-hmm. I think there's a lot to do with conformation. I get all that. I get all the looks and all that. But it's what's in here. It's what makes them great.
Mm. It's beautiful. American quarter horses have it. Got the big heart and the versatility. That's incredible. Man, so this year's been a milestone year for you. You've been inducted into the Pro Rodeo Hall of Fame, and now you'll be going into the American Quarter Horse Hall of Fame. Tell us about this feeling.
Well, I didn't... I knew one day that it was an option for me to be in the Quarter Horse Hall of Fame. It just was one day that was going to be an option. It was something that I didn't start out to do in either one of them. It wasn't, and for it to happen the same year was just like unbelievable. I always ask you what your favorite win is. This one.
Oh.
Pretty special.
It's incredible. The American Quarter Horse can do it all.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah. And it's just spectacular.
It proves itself.
Yes. And the American Quarter Horse has played such a big role in riding your career and the legacy that you've left on the American Quarter Horse industry. And we're just so proud of you, and congratulations on your induction into the Hall of Fame.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, JD.
Thanks for having me here.
Yes, sir.
Enjoyed it.
Thanks for listening. To learn more about the horses we discussed in this episode, visit aqha.com/goodhorses. There you can explore the pedigrees, performance achievements, breeding history, and much more. It's the perfect place to dig deeper and stay connected with the American Quarter Horse. Don't forget to subscribe for updates and follow AQHA on social media.